I wasn't supposed to be here. The last thing I recalled was driving home after a late shift, my eyelids heavy, the road stretching endlessly before me. Then, a sudden swerve, headlights, and the screech of metal on metal. And now, I was here. A whistle pierced the silence. From the swirling fog, a train emerged, its massive iron frame groaning as it came to a stop. The doors slid open, revealing a dimly lit interior. I should have run. Every instinct in me screamed to turn back, to find another way, but my feet moved on their own. I stepped inside. The door shut behind me with a hiss. Inside, the train smelled of damp wood and something faintly metallic. The seats were lined with faded red fabric and overhead lights flickered with an unnatural glow. A few passengers sat motionless, their faces obscured by shadow, their heads slightly tilted as if listening to something I couldn't hear. I hesitated, scanning the faces. No one acknowledged me. Then a voice, low, calm, but with an edge of something I couldn't place. "You're not supposed to be here." I turned. The conductor stood by the far door, dressed in an old-fashioned uniform, his cap pulled low over his face. His gloved hand rested on a silver pocket watch, its chain swaying slightly. His eyes, dark and unreadable, locked onto mine. "Where am I?" My voice felt small in the heavy silence. He didn't answer. Instead, he tilted his head toward the nearest seat. I hesitated but sat. The train lurched forward. Outside the window, the scenery blurred into darkness. No city lights, no familiar roads, just a void that swallowed everything. The passengers remained silent, their faces hidden in the dim glow, and then the whispering began. Faint at first, like a draft slipping through the cracks, then growing louder. Murmurs, voices overlapping, carrying sorrow, regret, secrets. I turned my head, trying to find the source, but the passengers hadn't moved. Their lips remained still. I gripped the armrest. "What is this place?" The conductor stepped closer, his gloved hand tightening around his watch. "This is the last stop for those who lost their way." A shiver crawled down my spine. "You mean they're dead?" He didn't answer, but I already knew. I turned to the nearest passenger, a woman in a tattered dress, her hands folded in her lap. Her fingers twitched. Slowly, her face lifted, revealing hollow, sunken eyes. My breath caught. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Only a low, rattling sound, like wind whistling through cracked glass. Her lips trembled, forming a silent plea. I shot up from my seat, heart hammering. "I don't belong here!" The conductor remained still. "Are you certain?" The train rumbled beneath me, the lights dimming. The whispering grew frantic, voices overlapping in a desperate cacophony. The woman reached for me, her fingers cold as ice, her grip unyielding. I yanked away, stumbling backward. "I need to get off," the conductor sighed. "That's not how this works." The train groaned, the walls seeming to close in. The window beside me no longer showed darkness. It showed something worse, a twisted reflection of my car wreck. My body slumped over the wheel, blood trickling down my forehead, headlights flashing, a stranger pounding on the glass, shouting for me to wake up. A scream built in my throat. "No," I whispered. "I'm not." The lights flickered violently. The passengers stirred. One by one, they turned their hollow eyes toward me. Their mouths stretched wide in silent cries. Hands reached out, clawing for me. I bolted for the door. The conductor's voice cut through the chaos. "You must choose." I turned, my breath ragged. "Choose what?" He gestured toward the swirling blackness outside the window, then to the wreckage, the life I had left behind. The train groaned again, slowing. For the first time, I saw it. A station ahead, different from the one I had come from, brighter, warmer. The edges of it shimmered, like something barely real. The conductor stepped aside. "If you go through that door, you wake up. But if you hesitate, the train moves on. The whispers turned frantic. The woman in the tattered dress reached for me again, her eyes filled with something new. Desperation. "I don't want to be alone," she rasped. My chest ached. The train slowed further. The door creaked open. Beyond it, I saw a hospital room. My body on the bed, machines beeping steadily, a nurse adjusting an IV. My mother sitting beside me, eyes red, whispering prayers. I had a choice. The conductor tilted his head. The train trembled. The station would soon be gone. I took a step toward the door. The passengers let out a wailing cry. The woman lunged, her fingers grazing my sleeve. The conductor raised his hand. The train shuddered. With one final breath, I jumped through the door and woke up, gasping. The hospital lights were blinding. My mother jolted awake, grabbed